Okay, so welcome back. What we're going to be doing in this example is we're going to create something called a pie within a pie and a bar within a pie. So what these look like, and I'm sure you've seen these before, let me just go to the second tab here, is this. So what happens is we create a pie chart off a majority of our data. So like on this one here, we're basically graphing everything up to about right here, up to Canada. So from Chicago to Canada, that is what we're seeing right here. Because the remainder of the data is much smaller, the pie slices will be very slim, all right, and very hard to label. So what we do is we create a another slice that actually represents all of these numbers here, see? And then we have a pie come off of that to break it down into what makes up that pie piece. I mean, this is very slick. And then the other one, exactly the same thing. We're going to be doing the numbers down here, the totals. But again, these numbers here, starting with about Argentina and all the way down to Great Britain or whatever, those numbers will be involved in here, and then they'll be broken down here. All right, so it's pretty cool. One of the things I really like about this is it actually takes into account a lot of, in this case, territories that you think are pretty small and not very significant, and you go to figure that, wow, all those seemingly insignificant territories do add up to almost a third of our data, which is pretty funny. And then, of course, with the totals here, it looks like those numbers are accounting for about a fifth of our data. It might not be that big, but still, it's a great thing. So having this, instead of having a bunch of little slices and almost being impossible to label them, nicely, that's a problem. All right, so let's go back and we're going to start doing both of those. All right, so we'll do one of each. So we'll do the first one using this data up here. Now, here's the thing that you have to do with this. Let me just go back to the old one here. You have to lay out your data. So if we're going to be, for this graph here, we're going to be doing quarter one. You have to make sure that in the beginning here are the larger numbers, and at some point then are your smaller numbers. They don't have to be in any particular order in each of the groups. It's just that they have to be the bigger ones on the left and the smaller ones pretty much starting from the far right here and working their way up. The program will default, when we set this up, it will default to taking the last four and putting them as far as the second graph here, all right? We can change that to 5 or 6 or 2 or 1, whatever we want to do. It doesn't matter, but that's what it defaults to. So with that in place, then of course the totals here will be the same way then. But definitely for your regular data, just keep the bigger numbers on the left and smaller ones on the right, and you won't have any trouble. All right, so we'll go ahead and go back to our graph here. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and select from A2 all the way over to N and then down to quarter one. Then I'll go back into Insert. We're going to go over to the pie area, and we're going to start out with the pie within pie here. They call it pie. They call it pie of pie. Okay, so we'll click onto that. It automatically just gives it right to us. So look at that. So I'll bring this thing down here a little bit. I'll scroll down a little bit like that. All right, so now you'll see that, what it looks like. So initially, it's not too bad. It's not going to take that much effort to get this thing to look really nice. First thing, though, is that it only gave us the first four, like I was talking about before, the first four from the end. I need to increase that to 6, so it's up to Argentina here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do a double click on any one of the pies. The panel will open up, and then over here I can tell it that I want to see the first 6. So I just bring it up to 6, and that does that. If I kept on going with that, it keeps on eating away. See, like that. You can get to that point if you wanted to, right? But we're just going to go with the 6. All right, that's one thing. The other thing is, what size do you want this to be? We can make it any size. So that second plot size, as we drag it to the left, becomes smaller or larger, whichever way you want to go with that. And then the gap is the amount of gap between here. You can increase that or decrease it, either way. Now, if you're unsure as to how to best format this, you might say to yourself, well, how about if we go up to the styles area here, which is in the design tab. You got all these different styles, so I can click on that little drop down. First one is what we already have. There's one, there's one. They have some nice looking ones in here, you know, already pre-done. It does most of the work for you, but they're all in there for you. See? So I think I'm going to go with this one here. Start out with that. So I'll click onto that. And then move this down just a little bit. All right, so first of all, I don't need to have a legend. I want that legend kind of built into the pie pieces. So what I want to see in my pie pieces is the airport code, you know, the territory, and I want to see the percentage. So I want to see two things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to kind of point to one of the labels, double click it, all right, and then I can go over here and I can go to my label options, and over here I've got my my leader lines, which we don't care about, but the percentages in there, and we also want the category name. I don't really care about having the value. I mean, I could put the value in there, but we're kind of tight on space, and really the whole reason for even doing a pie is just so that we can, you know, end up with a an idea of the percentage, you know, breakdown. I want to think about maybe making these labels just a little bit smaller. While I've got it still selected here, I can go back into Home, and I can bring the size down a little bit, kind of like that. That's not bad. And then also, while I've got this panel still open, maybe instead of going with the center, I can maybe try the inside end. That doesn't look too bad. And then also, too, I'll close this up. The other thing is we really don't need, like I said, the legend anymore. So we'll go ahead and turn that off. So we'll take the legend off. Gives us a lot more room to work with. And then the other thing I'm going to do is just to kind of make this stand out a little bit, I'm going to take this piece and pull it out just a little bit, give it that exploded look. Not too much, but just enough to kind of get some gap in there. That looks pretty good. Now the other thing I'm thinking too is that I really don't want to have this background in here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to double click that and go to my usual fill and say no fill. Go to my border, say no line, and that'll take care of that. That looks good. And then the other thing is I can click on to any one of the pie slices here, go back into Format, go to my shape effects, and maybe go to a preset and look at some of these looks here. So here they're turning out pretty good. Some are pretty radical, but you might find one that might look halfway decent. I'm trying to find that one. I guess maybe this one doesn't look too bad. And there we go. Not bad. I think I'm also going to double click this and come over here and bring the gap in a little bit more. Something about like that. That looks good. Now, the other little thing here is if we double click onto the frame here and go over to this first one, they got something here called size. And what this does is it allows us to kind of resize this a little bit. And I can do that by hitting the up arrow to go like that. You can kind of see how it's changing the height. So I can reduce the height, or I can increase it. So I can make it, you know, a little bit bigger, like that. See what it does? It more fills in that canvas area, I guess, right? And I can also then take this one and match it as well if I wanted to, or increase it. Doesn't matter. Whatever you think looks nice, but you can kind of play around with that and get it just right. And there we go. Perfect. All right. So let's look at now graphing the totals down here along with our territorial names and come up with that par, or that bar of pi, as they'll call it. All right. So it'll be the one where it's got the bar. This one here. So we're going to do this guy. All right. So we're going to go ahead and select from B2 all the way over to Great Britain there. Close this up. And then I'll hold down my control key and then select from totals all the way over. And again, you know, it's kind of forced to be this way. If you got all your little numbers on this side, all your big numbers on this side, it's going to tend to make all the big numbers be down here on this side, and then all the smaller numbers on the right, on the other side there. Okay, then we'll go over to the insert. We'll go over to our pi. And this time we're going to go with this one. This one's called the bar of pi. So we have the pi of pi. Now we have the bar of pi. So we'll click onto that. Bring that one down over here. All right, the first thing is I don't need the legend. I'm going to go right back in there, get rid of that legend. Go ahead with my data labels. Click onto that. Go to my options, my more options here. And again, I'm going to, I'm not going to go with the value. I'm just going to go with the percentage and the category name. And then I'm also going to have them be, I think I'm going to do, this time we're going to do the separated by comma. I think I'll do it that way this time. We'll see what happens. And then I'm also going to put this in the inside end. And we'll try that. You know what? I think we'll do it I think we're going to do the just a new line. So we'll put them on top of each other. I think that's probably the best way to make it look, I think, in this situation at least. All right, so that looks good. And then we have to fix this up a little bit. So right now, it's only doing the first four. I need to include these two here. So you see what I mean by that? It's just they're just too thin, and the labels are going to be kind of hard unless we put the labels on the outside, and I don't want to put the labels on the outside. So I'm just going to double click, tell it that I want my first 6 in there. There we go. The plot size, I'll make that just a little bit bigger, and I'll bring in the gap just a little bit. There we go. Okay. Then I'll click on one of the labels, go back into my Home tab, make it bold, and I think with this we'll make it the color of white. Yeah, I think white will do. So we'll do white. There it goes. I don't know if I like that just because it's kind of getting cut off here, but we'll change the size and see what happens with that. So that looks good. Maybe take this one and explode. Oh, click on that one by itself, pull that out a little bit, give that effect. Then we'll go ahead and double click the frame, and I'll go into our sizing area here, all right, and I'll bring that up a little bit, not bad, and the width of it, there we go, all right. Not too bad. I still look at that and I say, well, I don't know. Do we really want that to be on top? Maybe not. Maybe we'll just go ahead. We'll double click the label here. Go back to our separator. And we'll go with the comma. Well, that's going to make much of a difference there. It's still, this is too short here. That's the problem. Maybe if we go to center, we'll do a double click. Oop, double click on it and have it go center. Oop, that didn't mean to do that. Undo it. Double click it. There we go. Okay, now I'll go center. That has to be it. Now I'll tell you something. When you're doing this, you might find like the perfect layout, but there might be one or two that are a little bit off. You can always take one of those labels, hold on your mouse, and just kind of drag it up like that, and kind of get it out of the way like there. So not bad. I mean, it looks a little weird. You might move a few of the other ones around, but you see what you can do. And then I'll go ahead and double click the backdrop here, tell it no fill and no line. Close that up. There we go. And there we have it. Now, if I want to see if the program can do any better with the formatting, I can actually just kind of click onto it, go back up into my design area, and I can go through all of my different styles here. So I can kind of do each one of them and see if there's anything that might look a little bit better as I'm hovering over it. All right. Something like that. There we go. So you might even say, yeah, maybe this one right here. You know, after all said and done, I can click onto that, out of there. That's it. And then again, if I want to go with that, then I'll double click this and tell it no fill, no line. All right. And there we go. There's another way you can make it look. So it's pretty much endless. I mean, if you're a perfectionist, you'll be here all night just trying to make it look exactly right. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you can start using some of these tools in your own work. I appreciate you watching the video. Take care.